All right, you guys, welcome back to our API Gateway tutorial. And in this tutorial, we are going to remove instances from our registry. So just create an unregister method. We're just going to do this in the index.js file in the main app. And then we're going to go under this register function here. And we're going to go ahead and create a new function. Is going to just be called unregister. So it's going to be the exact same thing that we did up there. So we're going to go router. Let me scroll down a little bit more. All right, so we're going to go router dot post, and then we're going to call unregister. All right, and then also we need to take in a request and a response object as parameters. And then here we go. So while we're in this function, basically what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the index of the instance that we want to remove from our registry. And then we're going to remove that index from the registry. And then we're going to save our registry back to the file without that instance in there. So that is the way we're going to unregister. Let's go ahead and start coding that up. So the first thing we need to do is get our registration info object. So we're going to set up a variable to hold this for us. So we have our registration info. We're going to get that from the request body. So now, once we get this, the only two things we're going to need from the registration info is going to be the URL and the API name. So we know which API name we want to remove and which URL. So we get the API name, then we get the URL, and then we remove it. So let's go ahead and start that process. So what we need to do, let's think this through. What we have to do is we need to get the index, remove the index. But before we can do that, we need to make sure that this URL actually exists. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use this method right here. This function API already exists, and that's how we're going to check to see if this exists. So we're going to say if API already exists, then we're going to pass in our registration info. So if this is true, then we actually want to do the delete. If not, then we're going to return that it doesn't exist. Same thing that we did in our registration, but obviously it's in reverse because we want to. It's not if it already exists. It's going to be if it doesn't exist. Then we're going to say, hey, this configuration doesn't exist. So configuration does not exist for the registration name. Then we're going to get the URL. All right. So now we're good to go. Now we can actually handle the logic for removing. So we need to get the index. So we're going to set up a variable to hold this index. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to grab it out of this here. So we're going to need to get the registry. So we're getting the registry, and then we're going to check the services and get the API name. So if we go back to our registry, we see here, so we're getting the services. The API name in this case is going to be registry test, and then we're going to remove one of these, probably just 3001 down here. So let's go ahead and come back. So now we're getting that list. So now that we have the list, we need to get the index. So arrays in JavaScript here have a find index method on them, so we can just go ahead and run this function and find the index. We're just going to pass in the instance, which is one of the instances of the API here. So we're going to pass in these. It's going to loop through these and I guess find them. I don't know what the internals of this, how this works, but I know we're just going to return whatever equals the URL from this registration info object that we pass in, well, that the user passes in. So we're going to check we're going to return if the registration info.url equals equals the instance.url. So if the URLs match, then this is the index that we want to grab. So this find index will return that index. So now we have that index up there in this variable here. And now we can go ahead and use that to remove that instance from the registry object. So we're going to need to get the registry object. And then we're going to go services. And I pretty much should have just copied this. It's going to be the exact same thing. So services, and then we're going to drop that in there. And then we're going to say splice. So splice is basically how you remove objects from an API. From a array, my mistake. So now we're going to want to remove that index, but then as you can see up here, it takes a delete count. The delete count is so basically it just starts at this index, and you say, how many do I want to delete after this index? So we only want to delete this one, so we're just going to put a 1. So now we're going to remove that one instance from that array, and now we have to save our registry object back to our file. So it's going to be exactly the same as what we did up here in this register function. We're going to grab this. It's going to be identical. As far as the logic goes, we might change some of the stuff that it says. So let's see. We're not saying that we couldn't register. We're going to say we couldn't unregister. And then we're going to say successfully unregistered this API. All right. So now we have this written. I believe this is it. Yep. Res.send. So this should do what we need. The else calls res. Yeah. So this should do exactly what we need. We're going to get the registration info. We're going to check it. If it exists, then we want to remove it. If it doesn't exist, then we're just going to send back this message saying that the configuration doesn't exist. So once we do that, we come in here, we find the index of it, and then we remove it from the list, and then we rewrite our registry file back to the file so it can save. If you're using a database or something like that, then you're going to have to, obviously this logic in here is going to change because you're going to need to do a delete on your database or however you're saving it. So for us, it's just a simple array that we're managing. And this is pretty much the unregistered. So let's go ahead and test it out. We're going to run npm run dev here. All right, so our gateway has started up, and now I have written this unregister.txt file pretty much just to hold this API call or gateway call, I guess I should say. So now let's go check our registry.json. So we see that we have this 3001 here. This is going to be the instance that we're going to remove. So I've written this out, and as you can see, the URL is the one for this 3001. We're calling unregister on our gateway, and then it's application.json. Here's the actual JSON and everything. So same curl stuff. I'm just going to paste it in down here and run it, and we should, there we go. So it says successfully unregistered registry test. So if we go back to our registry.json and print that, we see that it's gone. It's not there anymore. So we have successfully unregistered. So now we can unregister and register instances of our APIs to our API gateway. All right. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe to the channel and all that jazz. And I will see you guys in the next one.